okay? This should be episode 5 of Counterpoints. I actually recorded another episode, so rest in peace to that episode. There were some problems with that actually taught me a lot about how the software works, and now apparently that won't happen again, so very sorry to Device and Pimpu on the episode, and I will release some details about it, but I'll have to have them on a future episode. So instead, since there wasn't going to be an episode before Dreamhack, I thought I'd get lurppis on here, and we'd hammer out some Dreamhack stuff days before the event. But when this comes out, it should be like one day before. It should be the night before. I'm hoping to get this up. And so it'll be a mixture of like a preview for the event, but then also, because it's the discussion show, like a discussion of the components of it. Because one of the big problems with previews, this is actually something that's a funny journalism point, is that whenever we do previews, except for tournaments that actually last like a month long, we always just tend to do a preview of the groups, which to me are the most fucking boring part of the tournament anyway. And we never really hypothetically say what would happen if this team played the one in the semis. Yet that's really the match everyone wants to know the inside in-depth info on, you know. So we'll do some of the groups, but I also want us to do some like hypotheticals, like if this team played this team, just to see what we're thinking before the event happens. Because again, once it's actually underway, then you're going to have a different opinion on what would happen to the team who was strong in the group and, you know, all that jazz. And as everyone can see here, lurppis isn't just sat really still. He hasn't got a webcam at the moment, so I have to use a picture of him. So that is quite a disturbing picture, I have to say, to just be looking at it all the time. But whatever, we get it at the moment. We haven't got a big sponsor. Tell Volvo to put some of that money into this show, then we'll upgrade the production. I don't really care if Volvo or not. Okay, so we'll start out with just Group A. Because on paper, Group A is Fnatic, Cloud9, Hellraisers, and Bravado. Now, even before we talk about current Hellraisers' form, just because of some of the cheating things that have taken teams out of other groups, this is the best group, right? Group A.
No doubt. It's by far the best group and the one that I'm most looking forward to seeing.
So here's the thing. When I saw this group, and I talked about it on the other show actually that I did, I said... the first way I asked the question was, I said, okay, we know Fnatic's the best. We know they should win the group. We know they should come out in first. No one's going to disagree on that. So instead, I thought an interesting way to put it would be like, but which one out of Cloud9 and Hellraisers has the best chance to beat Fnatic? And personally, I actually thought if we're just talking about who can beat Fnatic, I would have put my money on Hellraisers, even with the old Hellraisers, because I was thinking to myself, if Hellraisers play perfect and they have that crazy 1 in 5 maps that they have where they go nuts, then yeah, they could skill-wise match up with Fnatic. Whereas to me, Cloud9, they have to like beat Fnatic strategically, and even then, I don't know with the skill level of some of the Fnatic players recently if you could even do it. Like, do you have any different thoughts on this?
No, I definitely agree. I think Hellraisers has a much better chance to beat Fnatic. I really don't think Cloud9 has it in them unless Fnatic just completely underperform to take them down. Whereas, especially now that Hellraisers have added Blade as a coach, but it just remains to be seen how much he has actually changed in their game. I think that actually makes Hellraiser's chances much better against Fnatic.
So give me some insight then. I'll give people a little bit of background. So Blade is actually a really old school player. Like him and Starix were the two players who anyone would know now, who were in the old Amazing Gaming lineup that surprised everyone and got a bronze medal at WCG. And he was there all the time through to the Na'Vi days, but he wasn't in Na'Vi. He was actually in like, well, it was an A gaming lineup, and then there was some other lineups. What was the name of the lineup he had towards the end?
United,
okay. He was in always like the third best team in the region towards the end, okay. Now the thing is, in the latter day of CS 1.6, like Zeus was in Na'Vi and Na'Vi were the kings, so Zeus was considered the best strat caller. Then Angel was in DTS, and DTS weren't amazing, but the thing is they could beat Na'Vi, so it gave him a bit of cachet, like he could get his B team to beat Na'Vi. Give people some background, like what is your sense for what Blade was like in 1.6 as an in-game leader? Like, did he have a certain style? Was he a structured kind of in-game leader? Was he just a caller? What would your guesses be? What would you say?
I think he was pretty structured, and like he was the one guy in that region. He was sort of like threat, only like little less qualified, where he always brought up new players. Like his teams never had any of the actual stars. They were always in DTS or Na'Vi. So Blade was the kind of guy who would just take some of these guys who wouldn't be good enough for the absolute best teams in the region. He would always make the team better than the sum of its parts. And he also played for Couragenet at the very end, by the way. I forgot to say that earlier.
Yeah, that was his team.
But yeah, I mean, he was the kind of guy who would always make the team better than you would expect from the players who were in it. So that's why I think it also fits what Hellraisers are doing, because obviously they just have no structure. Markelov has told me multiple times that they have no tactics at all. So let's say Blade comes in, he forces them to run a bunch of stuff instead of just running around, I think that can potentially make a huge difference in how they play.
See, the problem is that's such a good storyline that everyone wants it to be true, right? Because they want to think to themselves, well, the skill level and, you know, some of the names on Hellraisers, add in some tactics, like, wow, they're going to blow them away. Like, I can tell already, everyone's going to hype this as though it was like when Virtus.pro came into EMS Katowice and everyone was saying, oh, they're awesome in practice and they're going to win this. And they obviously did win the event. They had the amazing run of form. But I'm not really buying it, actually, myself. Like, I could believe they could be a bit better and they might have a bit of structure. But actually, something you were saying there is what's worrying me. Like, I feel like part of the problems wasn't that they never ran tactics or they didn't know tactics. It's that I feel like the players and their playing styles even don't really gravitate towards tactics. And so what you were saying there is a good point, okay. When you were describing there, he's a guy where he put a lot of structure in, and because he didn't have, like, the superstar talents, a bit like Threat didn't often, he had to work with, like, lesser talents, but, like, put them in roles that would work and stuff. See, when you say that, I'm thinking of, like, Happy in LDLC, the last lineup before this one, where he didn't really have a lot of star power, but he's able to make them quite good just by actually having real tactics and structure. But let's continue that analogy, okay? Then you put Happy into LDLC. Now he's got all the talents in the world, and now he's trying to be the in-game leader. And actually, it almost doesn't work any better in a weird way, you know, because a lot of those players, maybe they don't play the role. What do you think of this? Is there anything to it?
I think there's definitely something to it. I mean, I definitely don't expect it to work out in the best way possible, the way that I was explaining that it theoretically could. I mean, like you said, some of those players, not only are their playing styles not perfectly suited for strats, but they haven't played in teams that are super tactical in potentially ever, or at least in a very, very long time. So it could even take much longer to actually make Blade fit better into the team. And we also don't know just how much he's allowed to do mid-rounds in the actual tournament.
The strangest thing about Hellraisers to me is that I totally understand why, like, Kucha doesn't mind this style of play, because he played with Angel for so long. Their team was sort of like the secondary stars in the region. And like I said, it's not like they would then outperform Na'Vi. They would just beat Na'Vi, and that would be good enough to be maybe like 5th to 8th at a tournament or something. It's not like they then would go on and then beat SK and MTW. You know, like, it's not like they really had some super good tactics. So that makes sense. Okay, those players, I get it. The one that doesn't make sense to me is Markelov. Because Markelov played with Zeus. He played in Na'Vi where they had, like, some strats. And crucially, I could remember a story he once told me where I think it was in the WCG final, on the train game they had, where actually they won in overtime on the third map to win the WCG, but actually they probably shouldn't have won. Like, they had to win some crazy half force buy towards the end of the CT half. And he told me some story, like, Zeus literally just made it up on the spot, like, told this guy, like, you buy a farmhouse and just rush there, and you buy it, and they were like, okay, and they just did it, and it worked, and they won the whole round against MTW, who's like an amazing fucking terrorist side team. So I would think that Markelov, at least, would eventually have been like, guys, we've got to have some structure, you know, like, even on our best day, we never win the tournament, we never come top 4, like, even when it does go our way, we win the upset game, and then we lose the series, you know. It's like I would have thought someone in the team would have figured this out before. So that's why I can't fully buy into it yet that they've been converted to the Church of Tactics, you know. With that said, do you think that they can beat Cloud9 and come out of this group in second?
I think they definitely can do that. I actually think Cloud9 is one of the most interesting teams to watch this tournament as well, because, you know, the thing all the Americans have always been saying is they can't get a good practice in North America. Well, now they've been in Europe for a month, so this is basically now or never for them, in my opinion. Either they're going to do really well now, they're going to make the Final Four, and we know they have it in them, or they're just not good enough right now. And no amount of practice in the short term is going to make a big of a difference.
The problem with Cloud9 is I feel a bit bad for them, actually, because this will sound rough, but I think that their chance to do really well was at ESL1 Cologne, and it's gone now. Like, I've always said I hate using the word should, because what happened always does make sense if you look at the reasons why, etc. But if you just talk about should as in terms of if you play that out 10 times or whatever, I'm pretty sure they actually beat NIP there, maybe 6 or 7 times. So then they're in the semi-finals. In the semi-finals, it's not like LDLC was some superstar team. That I don't know if they win that. I think LDLC probably would have won that, but it's doable. It's not that bad. Maybe they would win 4 or 5 of those. So then suddenly they're into the final, and even if they then get destroyed by Fnatic, which isn't a certain, but it's probably quite likely, that's still a top 2 finish. That would still be amazing. Crucially, they wouldn't have then been like pipped to the finals run by iBuyPower instead. So I feel like that was the moment, that's when it all should have been awesome. Whereas now, the reason I'm worried for Cloud9 is, first of all, like we're discussing here, they very well could go out in this group stage, and then even if they make it to the round of 8, I'm finding it hard to think of teams that they can beat in the round of 8. Like, can you think of a team where if Cloud9 went to the round of 8, they would beat them in a best of 3?
From the teams who are going to be topping their groups, no, I don't think there really is anyone. I mean, if I had to give you someone who could realistically win their group and Cloud9 would have a chance of beating them, I'd say Dignitas if they're still in a shaky form. But I mean, that's about it, right?
Yeah, but that's what worries me, because here's the thing. Dignitas don't tend to lose to teams of players unless the players, this will sound strange, unless the players are really skilled. Like, I think part of why Dignitas chokes is when their star players, who've shown themselves to be a bit shaky at times, go up against other star players who are as good or better than them. Then when they're like being a bit shaky and the other star players just like slamming home a consistent performance, I feel like that makes their players choke even more, because they don't even have that like inner confidence of like, well, I should beat this guy and I'm going to get this next kill on him, I'm going to turn it around. It's like I've always felt like Device and Dupree to a degree sort of knew like, nah, I actually get right in fours, they're supposed to be beating me like this. Like, maybe there's nothing I can do. Like, I felt like that's what would bring the self-doubt around. So, to me, if they play Cloud9, okay, yeah, listen, Shroud's pretty cool. Hiko can be awesome. I feel like Dignitas, with their skill level, must feel like we should be... Like, there's no reason we can't win this. Like, I feel like they wouldn't be choking in that scenario,
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, they usually don't lose to teams who are less skilled than them. And now some people will bring up, well, iBuyPower beat them.
iBuyPower's a pretty skilled team, right?
iBuyPower was more skilled than Cloud9.
No, that's part of why I say that, because that fits in with the logic to me, is that... And that's part of why I think iBuyPower were able to beat them. It wasn't some super-duper strats. Now, with that said, as we're talking about Cloud9 here, the strength of Cloud9 is the strats. They're not strats as in, like, they're not like the LDLC team I was describing before, where they have a really good structure and all that. It's more like... I felt like Cloud9... I always remember the debates me and you used to have, okay, where I would say, like, if you only have a month for the tournament... Don't try and be MTW and have a super set of strats that on every map, because that you need like a full schedule and you need the right personnel to make that work. Instead, if you only have a month, just try and be scrimmy, essentially. Just try and get a couple of strats and just mix up which you do to either surprise the opponent or just have some weird shit, that'll work once or twice. I feel like that's what Cloud9, because they know they don't ever get much boot camp and much practice, I feel like they've embraced that fully. Like, I know with Semphis especially, that's always been the shit he's been into, is they're like... Essentially, it's funny because he's the one who complains the most about people doing it to him, but it's just, he just loves to do the most bullshit strat that, like, he actually does save strats in a weird way. I hate to say that because fucking idiots are going to take that and run with it, but he does in a weird way, like, as in, if he comes up with one that he hasn't seen someone do, he might try and save it for one opponent that he thinks it'll work on well. And I think that's part of why they were able to get these cash wins over Virtus.pro. Like, do you have any insight on this? Because I know you know Semphis going back quite a long way.
I haven't talked to them this much before this tournament, so I'm not really sure what they're doing. But I actually think they're probably not going to be changing too much. I do think what you said is partly true. Like, I think they are going to be too strategic considering the time frame they're working with and like how much they can realistically change in like say 3 weeks since CSWC. But I mean, ever since Semphis started calling, they've been a scrimmy team. Like you said, all they do is just like random things he calls on the fly pretty much. So I don't think they're gonna be like the new MTW. I don't think Semphis has it in him to be that leader anymore. I think if they, like, he even said this to me in FACE finals. He said something along the lines of, well, if the team wants to be like super strategic, they can just have Sean call, because that's how he used to call. So I don't think so, but I do think you have a point there. I think they don't have enough time to deviate too much from what they've been doing in the past. And I think part of the problem why this boot camp isn't going to make that big of a difference for them is obviously you don't need insane amounts of practice to be good at scrimmy stuff. I mean, this is going to make them better individually, but everybody else is going to be better individually as well.
And of course, if the team wants some rice and peas, then they can just get Sean Paul. Anyway, whatever. I'll just leave that clanger right there. We don't care if it's awkward. That's what it's like when I'm on these shows. What Well, what you're saying there, let me ask you something. Here's the thing. I can't just say all the bad opinions and I can get shit on all the time, but I'm not going to in this case, okay? I want you, first of all, to tell me, if you had to describe Cloud9 in terms of skill level, what kind of skill level do you think the players and as a unit they have?
Well, I mean, I think Shroud... And
People are going to get salty as fuck, by the way, when you say this, but go ahead.
I think Shroud and Nothing have really high potential, but they don't realize it very often. I think they're both very inconsistent. So every American fan who's going to say, well, if Shroud and Nothing play really well, Hiko's in top form. Well, those things don't happen that often, do they? So, I mean, skill-wise, I actually don't think Cloud9 are... Let me look at the team list really quick. I mean, I think there's something like 8 teams who are better individually than them at this tournament. So let me just leave that out there.
And by the way, here's why it's not fair to say if Shroud and Nothing do amazing, then they've got Shroud, Nothing, Hiko, they'll be super skilled. Because let's do that to every team, shall we? Well, if Hellraisers have their 3 best play amazing, well, there we go, they're in the final. Dignitas, they probably win the whole event. You know, like every team, LDLC, by the way, would probably be the best team in the whole fucking world. Like,
yeah.
You can do that for almost every top team, and it makes their results, just like your imaginary NA mind dreaming about Cloud9's finals run, it makes everyone's results ridiculously good. In reality, you have to look at how... I always say, you have to look at how people play on average, you know, to get a sense. Because that's why Hellraisers can win the one series or win the one map, but they don't get to the final, you know, is because eventually the average, they do regress to the mean, as the saying goes. Like, eventually the average is what ends up really showing, you know. And it's usually quite rare that you can make... Even a really good run does tend to have that Cinderella component where it usually doesn't win you the event, you know. Usually it stops in the final or it stops in the semi-final. Whatever it is, it can't last like 3 series in a row, usually. Now, with that said... I agree with you, kind of. Like, I've actually said this to Cloud9 myself when I've had discussions with them about their team. I feel like their team lacks for a bit of skill, but I know why it is. Because most of the players in iBuyPower, either because their attitude wouldn't fit Cloud9, or they can't get them, or swag won't come home. Whatever the reasons are, they can't essentially upgrade in skill. So, okay, I get it. And they were already lucky enough to get Shroud out of, like, absolutely nowhere when he was just playing on some bomb-ass team. Like, I don't know how they miraculously did that, but they got lucky. But yeah, to me, I'm on the same boat as you are. Like, to me, their biggest problem is, I think Hiko's, like, by far their best player because he's consistent. Like, that's a great quality to have. His problem is, even him being consistent, I don't think that you still haven't got enough skill power to beat these teams we're talking about. Dignitas, all these teams that have a lot of good aimers in them, you know. So I do think Shroud still hasn't entirely proven he's inconsistent. He hasn't played enough events yet. But
no,
come on,
improve.
I think he could. Like, I still think he's a contender. He could one day be the best NA player if he gets his shit together. Now, with that said, I can say that about him because he's played like fucking 3 international lands. No one can say that about Nothing anymore. You're banned from saying that. You're not allowed to say it. The guy's played like 1 million events now. Like, how many do I have to wait for him to have one event where he dominates?
Hold on for a second, though. Do you remember that train match against Fnatic?
Oh, you mean the one in 1.6 in like 2007 or some shit? Yeah. Oh, 2008 actually. But yeah, I do. But yeah, Lurppis, that was like 6 years ago.
Oh.
And by the way, let me just throw in as a caveat here for anyone who thinks this is like mean. Lurppis literally was Nothing's in-game leader for like 2.5 years, no, for like 1.5 years or something. So it's not like he hates the guy and thinks he's dog shit and he's salty at him or whatever people are going to say. This is a problem Lurppis had in his own teams, like trying to figure out how to get Jordan into the right position to be successful. What role can he play? It's always been tricky because he would have games where he was nuts and you would think, right, well, we can put him in this fragger role, this star roles, entry, whatever it was, you know. But I mean, if you had to really think now, is there a solution to getting more out of Nothing?
I think there's solutions, but... And I actually do think this new playing style Cloud9 has, where they play more scrim, it fits him because he has more freedom to do whatever he wants. But I mean, I just don't think he's as good at CS:GO as he was at 1.6. I mean, I think that's already a problem. Like, even though he has shown now in like the last 6 months that his ceiling is still really, really high, and he actually has played fairly well in these recent tournaments. I mean, I honestly don't know what it is that makes him inconsistent. And I've talked to him 1 million times about it. And when I played with him, and since then, I talk to him often. And like, he doesn't know it himself either. So, I mean, it just doesn't seem to be a problem that's going to be solved anytime soon, I don't think.
if so, actually, out of those two, who are you going to bet gets out second? Which will you pick for? Would you go for Cloud9 or Hellraisers? Who do you think comes out second?
Well, I mean, the Pick'em challenge is what's gonna determine everything, because it's the one that has most prestige during this tournament, and I placed Hellraiser sticker on round 2. So.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because here's the thing. Even though that blade thing does make me want to swear a little bit, and fucking Cloud9 has bombed in the last 2 group stages. Yeah, this is a hard one for me, actually. I was going to go with Cloud9.
It's really hard.
I was going to go with Cloud9. For once in my life, I was going to put my money on the Americans, lurppis. Especially because Hellraisers have betrayed me so many times.
But you can't leave Dosha behind, can you?
I think I'm going to have to go with Hellraisers, yeah. I think I'm going to change it. I'm going to go with Hellraisers. But I think
also, there were really funny pictures of Dosha today on the forums where it's like sleeping during practice.
Yeah.
Like, how could you say no to that grizzly bear?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. Okay, fuck it. I'm going to go with Hellraisers for this one. But I was torn on that one.
Yeah, I was torn too.
Rip. Okay, right. Group. Oh, I've got a question for you before we leave that group then. So, similar scenario. If Hellraisers got out in second, then they'd have to play one of the teams who come first in the other groups, okay? So that'll likely be, well, it's going to be Dignitas, then it's going to be either LDLC or NIP. Well, let's say LDLC, just to be reasonable. And then Group D, it's going to be Na'Vi or Virtus.pro. It's probably going to be Virtus.pro there, I assume. So just on paper, they'd play Dignitas, LDLC, NIP, or Virtus.pro. Can they beat any of those teams in a best-of-3 based on what you know at the moment?
I don't think they can beat LDLC, but I actually do think they have somewhat of a chance against Dignitas and Virtus, and especially Na'Vi, if Na'Vi were to top that group. But then, like, all those series are exactly the kind of series where they've let us down every single time so far for like a year now.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think they're going to make the semis, but I do think they have a pretty good chance of making the quarters. And one more thing on that note in that group before we move on is, let's say Cloud9 doesn't make the playoffs in this tournament, they'll have stayed in Europe for over a month and gone out in groups 3 times.
Yeah. Well, listen, at least this time they can't cry about round difference because we don't have that format here. So, no excuses, boys.
Yep.
But that's the problem. That's why I'm agreeing with you as well on that. Like, I have a hard time seeing Hellraisers win any of those best of 3s because, dude, even if it's Na'Vi tends to beat Hellraisers when they play them.
Yeah.
So, like, I actually feel of all those teams, the best chance for them is if Virtus.pro play them, and Virtus.pro just is in one of their off days that they do actually have sometimes. Like, I think that's probably the best chance to win there. So I'm going to say, yeah, Hellraisers probably goes out round of 8 of that. But okay, let's go to Group B. Now, Group B is one of the ones, is basically the one that got fucked by the cheating because it removed Titan, who were kind of like a dark horse, and it took a group that in theory had some competition to it and made it kind of a joke because on paper, we have Dignitas. Okay, it's very legit. They are maybe the 5th or 6th best team, depending on what you're thinking, in the world. A pretty legit team, finished top 4 at the last major. But then the problem is you've got iBuyPower, who are living off the name of the old lineup. No one's seen the new lineup play. And then the team replacing Titan is Copenhagen Wolves, who's the 2nd best Danish team, but I think most people would probably have them outside their top 10. So they're maybe I'd say maybe 11th or 12th in the world. So this group, when you consider iBuyPower's new roster, it starts to look like Dignitas can't lose it almost. What do you think?
I agree. I mean, this group is actually really would have been super intriguing without Kaylee getting banned and iBuyPower going through roster changes, right? Like, it would have been another really cool group to watch. Would have been a bunch of good.
I think it actually. Matchups. What's funny is if this group hadn't had those 2 things happen, it would have been the best group because the difference in Group A is it's got strong teams, but there's no reason to say Fnatic won't win it. Whereas in Group B, like the 3-way, like basically Group B would be like a Mexican standoff because okay, let's say Dignitas would lose to Titan, well then there's no reason to say that Dignitas couldn't have then lost to the iBuyPower. You know what I mean? Like it could have got in like a 3-way tie scenario. Well, except you can't because you know what I mean. Like
but in theory,
it's a double elim. But in theory, it would have had 3 teams where I think it wouldn't necessarily be that one's better. It'd be like the matchup would decide it. So that isn't what's going to happen, unfortunately. Now listen, with Dignitas, they got back Cajun B, But this last event wasn't exactly like convincing. They just had they had to play Fnatic, okay, but they got smashed. They even had the start on Mirage where they got the 12 rounds of CT and they still lost. Like in the group at least, they're gonna win the group. Do you think?
I think they definitely should win the group. I mean, actually, a bunch of people have now been hyping up iBuyPower based on what are obviously just scrim results, right? Because there's no other reason.
You know how I love that.
I know. I know how you love that. I love that too. But I really don't think, especially knowing what we know about iBuyPower in terms of like Skadoodle's communication skills, what we can expect from these new Americans who have never been to an international tournament at their first international tournament. I mean, I actually do think both Penta and Copenhagen Wolves have a chance to beat iBuyPower, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if either one of them did.
If they beat... wait a minute. You wouldn't be surprised if Copenhagen Wolves beat iBuyPower?
No, not really.
Right, but Copenhagen Wolves can't beat Dignitas?
I actually think in a domestic matchup, something crazy could happen in a best of three, because you know how domestic matchups are always a little sketchy because teams are so aware of how everybody likes to play. But
I mean, best of one, yeah.
Yeah, best of best of one. Okay. But I mean, Dignitas, I think, just have so much more individual skill than Copenhagen Wolves that I think they can just overpower them. Like I don't think Katie and Glaive and who's the new Tensky. Like I don't think those guys can compete with Dignitas. I think Pimp and Kirby are pretty good, but I just don't think they can match them individually. And I don't think that team is old enough for Glaive to have implemented the old like Western Wolves super tactical style of play to a place where they would win that match. But I do think Copenhagen Wolves have a chance against iBuyPower. I think the Americans, like I just think they could just be back to being super inconsistent without Dazed and Steel. Because I actually think, even though Steel wasn't a very good fragger, I think he actually was a pretty versatile player, and he clearly was a pretty good communicator.
Right, he fit that team.
Yeah,
that's
I
the
know.
thing. Whatever you think of as a play, it seemed to fit the style of the team, and they had a good mix. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually think this iBuyPower team is in trouble. Now, with that being said, I still do think they are favored to get out of that group, just because of Tide and not being there. But I mean, I really don't think they're as or even favored or nearly by the amount that people think. And I do think the players who are saying iBuyPower are favored, like they have a chance to make top 4, are just like out of their mind, because there's no way they're beating anybody who wins their group in round of 8.
Okay, so here's the thing. I actually think that Dignitas, I'm almost certain they'll win this. Like even the domestic thing, like I actually agree with what you said about like, I just think Dignitas have got too much skill. Like I can't see them losing that. Bizarrely, even though usually I know there can be weird matchups there, I don't think it'll happen.
Yep.
But here's the weird thing. People now are just going to think like, you know, the standard complaint is like I'm like an NA hater and I always just say they're really bad and stuff. I actually really liked the old iBuyPower lineup. I thought it was good. I always thought it should have been better than the Cloud9 lineup. So actually, if this had been that lineup, you'd be loving it. I'd be saying that things could happen. But unfortunately, I don't buy into this lineup at all. Like I actually think that this lineup will lose to Wolves. Like I don't think Wolves is that good. They've got like Wolves have got like really middling type of skill. Like in this tournament, they're one of the weaker ones of all the teams who have even a chance to go to the play. They're probably the weakest team who have a chance to go to the playoffs out of every team I can see here.
I agree.
But they actually do have they have players in their team who understand like structure, and they do have sort of a sense of how to play as a team. Admittedly, having the new player puts me off a little bit. That's what makes me like a bit torn on this one. The problem is, I just don't buy that the iBuyPower team, first of all, like some of the players they lost, like you said, were good for the team. And crucially, the players they're getting have no experience playing like a big international LAN. And I don't know who the fuck half of them are. So I'm going to take Wolves to come second, even if it's by a little margin. I think they're going to do it, you know.
Yeah.
So going forwards, every single major, let me go back in time. The last 2 majors, Dignitas has gotten to the semi-finals. Will Dignitas get to this semi-final?
You know, looking at their potential round of 8 matchups, unless they play, let's see, I think LDLC beats them if NIP win in Group C. But I think everybody else, assuming Fnatic wins Group A, I think anybody else they can beat, they could very well, I think, return to the top 4.
Yeah, I think so. The thing for them is, yeah, let me look at these two. I feel like... Yeah, I feel like they should beat Hellraisers. Should probably beat Na'Vi. Na'Vi might be a close one, but I feel like they probably should beat Na'Vi. I feel like Virtus.pro will beat them, so I think that one no. LDLC and NIP's harder because if it's NIP, then maybe that means NIP's not that good. Okay, maybe that's probably a doable win there. I don't think LDLC... Yeah, okay. I think that's about right. I think they're probably like a slight favourite to make the semis. Like they should, but it depends on the matchup. Okay, that's not bad. But then again, that's also unfortunate because the way the groups... They've now got the easiest group, as stupid as that is, in its own way.
Yeah, because now they can't get the easy round of 8 matchup.
Yeah,
because I mean, someone is going to play the second place team from Group B in round of 8. They're going to be loving it.
Yeah. No, it's the best one to have. Okay, so go to Group C then, because I won't ask like how far will by Power and Copenhagen Wolves go if they go to the round of 8, because based on what we just said there, they're going to lose to anyone. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
So if we go to Group C now on paper, sorry NIP fanboys, strap yourself in, get a fucking ejector seat and like one of those airbags so you don't die when you crash the car listening to this on your radio. But on paper, LDLC should win this group. Like I have never seen NIP play on LAN with Michael, so I have to say LDLC, the team who've never not come top 4, that might not even be grammatically correct, they've always come top 4 in 5 events. They've made the final of 4 of the 5. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the final of 4. Yeah, because they lost time apart. They made the final of 4 of the 5, and basically, if Fnatic didn't exist, would have won like the last 2 events. Come on, how can I not say they're going to win the fucking group? I feel like they have to win the group.
I also think they have to win the group. And, I mean, obviously it's not the same team since Thorin left and NIP added Michael Ele, but, I mean, LDLC were just dominant against NIP in the little time that they played against each other. I don't think NIP... I think NIP got... let me just double check. They got 1 map win against LDLC the very first time that they played with this new LDLC roster. And since then, LDLC won, let me just look really quick, 9 games in a row against NIP. And like none of them were even close. NIP, I think they got to double-digit rounds twice. So
but that's also the problem is like, this might sound weird, but when you look at NIP recently, they've also lacked for like a bit of skill. Like, yeah, we all look at these names and people want to imagine they're at the old level. Almost no one's been at the old level. So if they play LDLC only chokes like motherfuckers when they play versus Fnatic, basically. Versus everyone else, they look awesome. Give them Virtus.pro and they fucking beat the shit out of them. Like, I feel like... Okay, listen, it is best of 1, so if this new team is good and they have a good run, they can win a best of 1 for sure. But I feel like LDLC's a lock to make the playoffs.
They are, for sure.
Now, the new NIP... Let's do the NIP one first, okay? Can NIP win this event? Knowing nothing, but what do you think? Just a crazy prediction. Can NIP win this event?
Based on... Actually, just based on the... I'm going to put in a little qualifier to the statement. Based on how they played in that Case King of Kings tournament online, if they haven't completely changed their playing style, I think there's no way they win this tournament. They probably don't even make the semifinals. If they have changed their playing style to where Michael Ele is now the player who decides where to go every round and they play around him, I still don't think they will win the tournament. I don't think they realistically even have a chance to win the tournament, but they could maybe, if Forrest and Get Right are in shape, make the grand final.
Because that's the thing.
But I think they need a complete changing of the playing style. Everything has to go, and I don't think Exist has it in him to do that.
Because I mean, unfortunately, people won't get to see that episode that got deleted. But on the episode, before Kaylee was banned, I actually had a crazy prediction where I said that Titan was going to finish definitely top 4, and I thought they could even make the final because I thought they could maybe beat Fnatic, and then LDLC, who knows, it's so lopsided. And also... So I had a crazy bet with Device where I said that out of the next 5 events, Titan would win more than LDLC. And there was a logic to it, because I thought Titan was one of the better teams matched up to beat Fnatic. Plus, to me, if they didn't beat Fnatic, then Fnatic would beat LDLC. So it was I sort of had like a little cheat on my side there, where it's like, well, LDLC's not winning the event anyway. So I felt like I had a logic to it, but Although I guess theoretically, by my own logic, Titan could have beat Fnatic and then still lost to LDLC. So I guess it wasn't entirely ironclad. But I thought it was good enough odds to make a crazy bet, because obviously Device took the other side. He thinks LDLC is going to win more. That's now a completely worthless bet, because now they haven't even got fucking the guy who was like part of the reason I said that. So forget that for a second. But the reason I bring that up is because part of having Titan make this run and definitely make top 4 is I thought NiP was one of the teams who would get squeezed out of that. Like, I thought they wouldn't be the top 4, you know. So I kind of still feel that way. Like, to me, just based on the problems they had before, Makalele isn't enough to just turn that into the best team. So I think they could be good. They could be top 4 level if everything goes right. So I think they could make the semis if it goes right. I can't really see how they'd make the final, because, yeah, I mean, there's so many good teams at the moment. I think that's too much to ask them to make the final. I'd say best case scenario semis. And then just because of the group they've got, they'll be making the round of 8 anyway, I'm pretty sure. So I think that's fair enough. Just make the round of 8. But it's going to be... Okay, which teams could they... Again, this is the hardest team to predict because we've never fucking seen them play. What teams could they beat if they came out second and had to play out of the first play ones? Would you pick anyone just for any reason?
Well, they're not beating Fnatic. I think that's a given. I think they could beat whoever comes out on top on Group D. And I think... they could be Dignitas. I think they have a chance in both those series. I mean, one thing that I'm going to mention in my write-up, or, well, we'll have mentioned by the time this comes out, I think, is that every single time Forest's teams have made roster changes going back like 7 years now, he has always had like some of his best tournaments of his career, like right after. Because I think he always gets like insanely motivated when that happens to prove like they're still a really good team and whatever. And some people told me that Forest has been like in insane shape lately in like practice and whatever. So I'm thinking if that's the case and they change enough that the other teams won't just outsmart them completely, I think that might be enough to put him through to the semis. But I mean, if Forest is shaky and GetRight is now back to like the world beater level he was at still 6 months ago, I think they go out in quarters for sure.
I mean, for sure they have the biggest X factor, because GetRight and Forest historically are so great and have again and again returned to top form that if that happens, they won't be the best, but they'll be a contender to make a semi run, you know, like a deep run. But at the moment, I've got no evidence to show me that. Like, I don't buy into the online games that much, you know. Like, I have to see it actually happen offline first, because otherwise, Fnatic would have been crowned about 3 months earlier. Fucking LDLC would be instantly the best team. You know, like, there's too much shit happens online. Now, the problem with this group is Planet Key Dynamics and ESC Gaming. Who gives a fuck? Is there any reason to believe they could get out?
No, I don't think there's any reason to believe.
I mean, what's even more depressing is ESC, in theory, you'd think... I actually think that Virtus.pro have successfully killed any hype around ESC just by taking, like, stand-ins and then just bombing the tournament. Like, thanks, boys, you've made it even less... I can't even believe that guy can do well on his own now, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, what about LDLC? I get the sense that a lot of people aren't as confident as I am about them. Like, to me, I think the problem is... because you always get to see them play versus fucking Fnatic at the end of the tournament, they look like dog shit. But if you watch them the rest of the tournaments, they're really good. Like, iBuyPower had to play the fucking game of their lives to win that series. It's not like LDLC was just shit. Against everyone who isn't called Fnatic, LDLC look like a clear favourite to me. Do you go differently than that? I feel like you're not as confident in them.
No, I am just as confident in LDLC as you are. I think we're in the same boat on that one. I think they've looked by far the second best team in the world, going back like the last little over 2 months since the team was formed. I mean, I think the only teams they've lost against are Fnatic and Titan, and that one series against iBuyPower. So there's three teams they lost against on LAN. Obviously, the iBuyPower loss never going to happen again because they changed players. Titan's not here. Who do we have left? Fnatic. And I mean, LDLC have had plenty of time to practice. They've been boot camping. And something also is to consider is that, I mean, finally Happy's, I would assume, sort of settled into the in-game leader role after kind of going back and forth between Shox and him early on, and even trying NBK calling, which was a huge mistake, by the way. And I think that might finally give Shox some room to get back to where he needs to be, because I don't think Shox has been the player he was in very games so far in LDLC. Whereas if he could elevate his level of play a little bit, that could give LDLC the boost they need, I think, in the Fnatic series.
No, he's been pretty underway. Yeah, dude, he's actually not even been the shocks from Epsilon. At least in Epsilon, he'd have a map, he'd go crazy. I kept saying that when they were playing Fnatic. Like, all we need is for him to have one of those maps. And he never did it. He just played, like, average or a little bit below average. Now, here's the problem with LDLC to me, is that Fnatic exists. And Fnatic can match someone's skill, and then they've got everything else as well. So to me, unfortunately, this is the era where I'm sorry, MBK, but LDLC are the true inheritors. If Fnatic and the new NIP, then you're the new Very Games Pro. And no, I'm not talking Very Games, the one that beat him at the end. I'm talking, that first stretch of those 7 best-of-3 losses in a row. Welcome back to hell, bro. You're in fucking purgatory again. Like, and this time, Shox isn't coming to save you because he's already on your team. So I don't know what you kind of fucked at this point, And
you know what the worst part is? The worst part is the same thing could happen to them that happened last Dreamhack Winter, where they have to play Fnatic in the semifinals because we don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, it's 50-50 chance that they're on that side of the bracket. So
I hope they are.
Chance they have to. Yeah, I know. I want to have those teams have the potential of meeting in the final because I think they're the best 2 teams in the world right now.
Yeah, I hope they do meet in the final. I hope we get the match there. And then at least if they have to lose, they get to come second still and get a nice big check. And at least it's better than the old Very Games losses,
Yeah.
With that said, my problem with LDLC is that I still think, they're still a favourite over everyone else. They should get to the final, as long as the bracket's correct. They've got all this stuff going for them, but their problem really is that Fnatic exists, because I haven't seen anything so far to indicate they can get over the Fnatic hump. Like, when I look at them play Fnatic, I think they're going to have the same problems they had in the last finals now. Like, I'll admit, I think they might get slightly better. Like, they might close the gap a little bit, not least because I think Fnatic can't keep that level up entirely. They'll still be the best, but I think some of their players just were like, especially the last tournament, were just like, come on, man. Like, Flusher doesn't normally play that good. Like, All of them was a little bit better. Like, I feel like they just had too many players play well there. So I feel like they have to come back down to earth a bit. But the problem for LDLC is this choking and this not really maximizing the roles. I haven't seen any signs to say they've fixed that yet. So they might improve a little, but I don't expect them to make this jump up and now they're going to be the best team, Like, I think for them to win, they probably need someone else to do them a favour and beat Fnatic, and then they win the tournament.
I agree on that. I don't think the jump that I was talking about with them becoming better because of Happy getting more used to calling again and Shox playing better, I don't think it's realistic. I just wanted to mention it as a possibility of like the upside that they're hoping to get at this tournament. I don't think it's going to happen though. Like you said, I think they would need someone else to knock out Fnatic, but if Fnatic plays like they have in the past few months and no one else has figured out how to stop their super dominant CT side, I just don't know how you beat Fnatic.
I mean, so far we haven't found a way. That's one of the reasons why I also had Titan as one I thought could be good, because, well, first of all, Titan did it. They actually did beat Fnatic. Admittedly, there were other factors. Crims was late. It was like, that was a bit of a weird tournament. Okay, all of that. But I feel like, as weird as this sounds, the only way you can diminish the super duper CT side is you have to have a pretty good T side, or you have to have an effective T side. And so, unfortunately, all the other top teams at the moment are just like, well, we're really good on CT side too, but just not quite as good as you. It's like, I wonder how that'll play out if we do it a lot of times. Like, at the moment, none of the really good teams are like the uber T side teams. So I feel like that's the problem, is that's what you might need. Like, you might need a Virtus.pro in peak form to have a chance, Yeah,
I was going to actually point that out too, is LDLC is basically a slightly more skilled, but less strategic version of Fnatic. On CT side especially.
That's why it makes sense that they lose every time.
Yeah, I know, because Fnatic has better setups and Pronax is definitely better at reading LDLC than the other way around. So I think that's their big advantage. And even though Fnatic isn't amazing on T sides, they have some super versatile players like JW and Olaf who will just do the screamiest things that usually win rounds for them. And I think in today's CSGO, sometimes you need to do that because it doesn't seem like anybody but Titan is capable of playing that super strategic style that's going to overmatch your opponents just by playing the correct way. And like you said, Virtus.pro are the best terrorist side team at their peak, I think. So I would actually really want to see them play Fnatic in a best of 3. I think that'd be a really good matchup.
But that's also the bummer, is that Virtus.pro haven't been in that form for fucking, seems like forever now. They get these top 4s, I don't know how, but they've never been in that form for, well, since fucking G3. It was like August. Beginning of August, I think. Yeah, so that, unfortunately, I can't know that that's... Oh, I'd have to bet it doesn't happen at the moment. Speaking of which, let's go on to Group D. Now, Group D is the one where It's Virtus.pro, it's Na'Vi, it's MyXMG, and it's Flipside. Now, Flipside, we didn't even know they were going to be in this tournament. Should we expect anything of Flipside? What do you know about them?
I know Twist used to be pretty good in LGB, and I think that's most of what we need to know about them. I think they have a chance to beat MyXMG, and I think that's about it. It's actually kind of a bummer that Epsilon isn't there, even though they weren't going to advance, because Scream just seemed to be playing at like pretty good level again in that team. I think being the star of those lesser teams fits him better. And, he's just a fun player to watch when he's playing super well. So I think that's a bit of a bummer, but especially considering their replacement, I don't think has any chance of going through that group. So I think that group also got more boring, though I don't think it changed who was going to go through, unlike in Group B.
MyXMG, all I ever think of when I think of MyXMG was the star ladder that Fnatic won. The one where I think I'm thinking of the right one, or was it? Which one was it?
No, you're thinking the right one. That was
the one
August or earlier.
The one where all I remember is, this is my prevailing thought. Okay, star ladder format. 4 teams go. You play double limb. If you come last, you were pretty much the worst team there. That's almost a given. Okay, MyXMG only get to attend because other teams drop out or some dumb shit like that. Like some good teams didn't want to attend, and so they went there. They probably aren't good enough to beat the tournament. They go. They give it a try. They get dumpstered. At the prize ceremony, they had these huge grins on their faces. They were hugging people, and I just thought, like, you kind of know your shit, don't you? You're happy to be there. You're happy to finish 4th. You don't even get anything for 4th. You get like the smallest check in the universe, and like in the Olympics, you don't even get a medal. Like, listen, I realize this isn't compelling evidence. This isn't even strategical what I'm saying right now. But that alone just makes me like, why are you even in this tournament? You know?
Okay, I've got 3 points to make.
Okay.
First of all, they finished 10th in the online season, but got asked to go because no one else was going because of like the roster changes and everything after the major. Second, in their 4 maps they played, 2 matches at that tournament. Obviously, they won 0 maps. They won 22 rounds in 4 maps. So that's 4.5 rounds on average per map. And 3, this is the only point in their favor, they've changed 2 players after that time. But
so they got Freeze, I think, was one of them, right?
Yeah, Freeze and SMF.
Okay.
Who's basically like the ultimate stand-in.
Yeah, SMF is just he was a stand-in for the Copenhagen Wolves team that is now Dignitas basically at one point in time. Yeah, he's been in all the Danish. Yeah, that's true. He's just the guy you add when you need a 5th player.
Yeah,
now
he's the evolution. No, who'd you say? Sean Garris.
Yeah, he's the Sean Garris of their scene. That's right. It's a bit, R.I.P. Sean Garris. So here's the thing. The problem with that roster move is, yeah, on paper it looks good. Like, it looks like a bit better. But I will always feel like a bit underwhelmed by Freeze because he's never been at the level he was in 1.6. Like, he was a pretty good player at the end of 1.6. He was in the Fnatic team winning everything. His AWP was pretty strong. I always thought he was sort of like 3rd best AWPer in the world or something behind like Delpan and
he was an insanely good defensive AWPer.
But his problem is he's never really shown it in CSGO. And all the teams he's on in CSGO are never quite at their full level. Like, if we're being honest, they sort of get better actually usually after they get a different player after him. Like, he was in the Copenhagen Wolves lineup that was Dignitas now, and then they were good, but then they got a bit better once he left and they got Nico instead. Like, yeah, he's just something hasn't clicked with him. He's like a slightly better version of Carrigan as well, because Carrigan was the same thing. He should have been good from 1.6. He's never been that good in CSGO, so I don't listen. I think it's a moot point at this point. It's not going to help them beat Na'Vi or Virtus.pro, so that's irrelevant. So out of Virtus.pro and Na'Vi, how do you actually see that matchup going if they play each other?
You know, those 2 teams actually match up really well against each other, I think. Like, I think they're going to have 2 really good games. Actually, no, just 1 really good game. But, I mean, I think they match up really well. They always have. They've had a bunch of close games, I think, over time. Even I didn't see the SWC 3rd place decider, but I think Virtus.pro won there when they played. I think a lot of it comes down to just what kind of shape both of those teams are. And I think Na'Vi is more consistent out of the 2. So I think by default, if you just look back to these last couple of months, I think Na'Vi has a slight advantage. But I think Virtus.pro's ceiling is so much higher, and I think they usually tend to be a little better at the majors, that I think they are going to top the group.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think here's the weird thing. It's crazy because placings don't actually justify this, but I feel like Na'Vi should be the better of the two teams. But I think Virtus.pro, like, the difference is Na'Vi could never win the event, whereas Virtus.pro could. So I feel like in their own way, Virtus.pro are better, but they just yeah, it's weird, but they're a very inconsistent team. Whereas actually, I feel like Na'Vi's very consistent. They're just not. They just got the best out of what they can do with that weird one-dimensional style, you know. So who will win this group though? It's hard to say. I mean, you're saying Virtus?
Yeah.
Let me think.
But I mean, it's because I have to pick someone.
The thing is, the thing, even those teams are close in terms of the maps that they play.
Yep.
Like neither likes
like to
Nuke.
play the same maps.
They're even two of the teams who seem to like Overpass, and almost no one likes Overpass. You know, it's like them and Fnatic seem to actually be good on the map.
Yeah. And Dignitas plays it too.
See, I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to say Na'Vi wins that, because I think that's a fairly 50-50 match. Fuck it, I'll just go Na'Vi, just go the other way.
Okay.
I think Na'Vi can do it. Now, if Virtus.pro, give me the two scenarios. If Virtus.pro come out first or if Virtus.pro come out second, how do you see the tournament going from there?
If they come out first, I think they're favorites against either Hellraisers or Cloud9. I think they're favorites against either Copenhagen Wolves or iBuyPower, and I think they're at least 50-50 against NIP. So I think if they come out first, I think they make the semis.
Okay.
If they come out second, I think they lose to Fnatic. I think Dignitas would be really close, and I think they lose to LDLC probably. So I think actually that Na'Vi match is probably going to decide whether they make the semifinals and potentially even the grand final, depending who they play, or whether they go out in the quarterfinals just by the odds.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, they played Dignitas at the last tournament and they beat them. But with that said, I actually expect Dignitas to have sort of their shit out a little bit. Like, the last two tournaments have been pretty awful, so I think they've shot that a little bit. And I don't know. I just don't feel like... I mean, listen, I've always felt this way. I'll give that as a caveat. But I can never put my faith in Virtus.pro. I've seen them too many. It's like, I'm pretty sure they've only ever fucking won in like the one or two times when I picked against them, but to like a team that was weaker or some weird scenario. And like, it's only when I really would like disrespected them that they actually were able to win. Like, yeah, I actually think similar to you. Like, the best case scenario is a semi-run. Otherwise, they should make the round of 8, but then they can go out there. Now, what about Na'Vi? What? Give me the two scenarios for Na'Vi. What if Na'Vi come first?
Okay, let's see. Oddly enough, I actually think Na'Vi are a really bad matchup for a bunch of teams. Like, I think a lot of teams don't like playing against them because Guardian's a good opper, and a lot of teams don't have really strong oppers. And even more so, I think Guardian's a really good terrorist side opper, which is even more rare than being a good defensive opper. Plus also, I think Na'Vi are one of the most strategic teams, and they play super slow, which tends to be a problem for many teams. So I actually think most teams wouldn't like to play Na'Vi. With that being said, let's see. So Group A, I think Fnatic beats anyone. So I don't think Na'Vi beats them. I think Na'Vi are favorites against either Cloud9 or Hellraisers. I think in Group B, same thing. They're favorites against either Copenhagen Wolves or iBuyPower. And I think Na'Vi have it. Again, I think they're at least 50-50 against NIP. So I think if Na'Vi win that group, I think they have a pretty good chance of making the semis. But on the other hand, if they get second, I think they lose to Fnatic. I think Dignitas are probably favorites against them, and I think LDLC are favorites against them. So I think in a sense, both teams in Group B in the second round match where they play for first place, I think that's actually going to be really huge for both these teams.
Yeah, actually, the thing is, historically, Na'Vi matched up well against Fnatic in the early days, but that was actually before Fnatic kind of figured their shot and became dominant. So it was a good matchup back then, but I don't think it would be as much now. Dignitas, see, that's a weird one there where I can't tell if it's just that Dignitas have broken my heart that many times, but I actually feel like Na'Vi should win that. I just feel like they should. So then for me, it's the LDLC one. Now, the interesting thing is, I actually think LDLC Na'Vi so far has been like a really good like little rivalry going on from Star Ladder, ESWC. I think that's a pretty cool matchup, actually. That's a weird one where of all the teams that could come second, like that might be the worst for LDLC to play, you know. It's one of the few I think that could beat them. In terms of NIP, I think one of the things Na'Vi has in their back pocket is that if Na'Vi finish first, the reason why I think they will make the semis is because one factor I think they have of almost everyone is that they have a strong Dust 2. And most teams are leaving Dust 2 in to ban like shit like fucking Cobblestone and Overpass. And usually because the other top teams aren't that super duper amazing on Dust 2, you know. Like, yeah, okay, maybe LDLC are, but who cares about Virtus.pro or who cares about NIP or iBuyPower now? Like, you don't mind playing these teams on Dust 2. So most people are leaving it open, but Dust 2 is one of Navi's strongest. So I think that can be like an X factor to get them through whoever they play round of 8, as long as it's not like Fnatic, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, going beyond that, we've done the groups and kind of like hypothetically gone forwards there. Who is the team who is the biggest surprise potential? Like they could have the biggest swing up and down for you.
Well, I think we already said that when we went over the groups. I think NIP is definitely the team with the biggest X factor.
Okay.
I think another team though who could either go out in groups or make a deep playoff run is Hellraisers. So I think those two are the biggest teams whose results might swing the most.
See, here's the weird thing. I can't tell if I've just lost my shit completely here. But like I said, you know, I said Na'Vi are so consistent. When I watch Na'Vi play and I'm in like commentator mode, I'm just like, this is fucking stupid. What are you doing? This doesn't work. It's not going to work. It shouldn't work. Then it works, and I'm like, that's actually pretty good in its own retarded way, that one-dimensional way. Just because somehow someone hasn't figured out the counter to it, you know? Somehow it works. I don't know why, but it works. So in a weird way, I almost like begrudgingly respect them for at least... Like, listen, when Hellraisers have a style that doesn't work and it doesn't work, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? When Na'Vi do it, but it works, then I'm like, well, I have to give you credit for that. You found a different way to play the game. It's working. So, as weird as it sounds, now that my Titan dream is dead and I can't even believe in Kenny S, etc., now I have to actually... I think Navi's my weird team that I think are going to make semis and... Okay, here's the thing. I think Na'Vi can make semis, and with the right bracket, if they play LDLC in the semis, I think that's a good matchup, and there's a dream world where they make the final. Na'Vi makes the final. That might be ridiculous, but that's my pick for the weird one, you know. Okay, I've got a weird question for you.
Okay.
We're not going to go into cheating and all that bullshit and all the rest of it. But do you feel like for any reason Fnatic won't win this event? Is there some factor you've thought of as to why they might not, or why they might have a dip in form? Or do you think the major thing will get to them?
I don't think the major thing will get to them because, I mean, 3 of their players already won a major. They've gotten second at a major. I do think one factor is, though, like, regardless of all the cheating accusations, and let's say no one on their team is cheating, I know you know this comparison is like that time when Isaiah Thomas said that thing about Larry Bird being just like if he was black, he'd just be just another average good guy in basketball.
Where are you going with this?
And Bird said that it's like it really like those comments didn't bother him, but like the whole circus around it, where he had to hold like press conferences during the finals and whatever, like that actually messed with his focus and whatever. I actually think all of this could be messing with Fnatic, like all these talk about them cheating, like other pro players saying they think Flush is cheating. I think all of this could actually affect them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the only... I don't know, actually, because I'm kind of 50-50. Like, I do think the cheating thing might have impacted them a little bit, especially because, unfortunately, some of the players being accused of the cheating, like, I'm thinking mainly of... Well, no one's actually accused JW, but he has the most bullshit style that everyone just like assumes he's cheating if they don't like him. So there's JW and then there's Flusher. Because they're doing such weird stuff, if they're not cheating, that I feel like I hope it doesn't get in the back of their... Like, I hope at no point for any reason... This might sound ridiculous. I hope at no point do they think to them... Like, JW doesn't think like, oh, I shouldn't just do this Randy peek around this corner and shoot 2 guys in the head. Like, oh... Flusher doesn't just think, oh, well, that'd be too risky if I just spam that wolf and I just hope that isn't even a factor in the game, you know. I want them to still do... If they're not cheating, I want them to still do that bullshit and have their style work. I feel like they're still a lock to win. Because, listen, Crims has just been like... The only time he was even human was in that final against LDLC, and LDLC still couldn't win. They won their only map on the one he was human on in overtime, once Fnatic had already reached that point. Like, if that's the best case scenario, what the fuck are we aiming for here, boys? Like, I think the biggest factor, believe it or not, actually might be the major thing. Maybe that can mindfuck them. Because we haven't seen them, like, as the dominant team win the major when they're supposed to, you know, all that good jazz. Maybe that can get to them. I still feel like this is going to be the first time it really does happen. Like, the team winning every event comes in and wins the major and continues, and they really do just become, like, they won't be NiP, but in their own weird way, by being in a more competitive era, they'll actually, if they win this major, they'll be on their way to starting to rival NiP, actually, I think. And every NiP fanboy is going to be like, 87-0, like, shut up. You're beating, like, fucking bums back then.
If they win this tournament and go on to win ESCA, which I think is already a lock, so they finish this year with 2 more big tournament wins, I think they're basically going to be like the 2008 MTW to the 2003 SK.
Yeah, just less wins overall, less in a row, but, well, they would be in a row in this particular case, but a way more competitive era. And then, like, the whole point is, yeah, NiP had very games to beat, but after very games, there was a whole period where it was like, there's no one. The rest are just like, they just take a random turn at coming third for a while, you know, like, I don't want to downplay it too much because I don't go too far the other way and be like, they were, like, even though I said they were beating bums there, I meant in comparison to the teams now. Like, not even just skill now, but just context of the era. There's way more teams can beat you at the top now and have strengths of their own that didn't really exist in the early parts of CSGO. Because, listen, one factor is a lot of those 1.6 teams kept their old 1.6 lineup for way too long and waited for it to kick in, and it never did, you know. So there's weird factors that aren't NiP's fault, and they did what they could and won, but I do think this is a super sick era. So Fnatic do win here. I think it's massive props. Like, I think they're well on their way to be. They're already a super sick team. I think people, I've tried to stress it in my videos. I don't think people have yet given them enough credit for, like, all these wins in a row and top 4s in a row. And, like, that's already super sick. So I think they should win. I feel like no one else has given me a reason to believe they'll beat them. Let me think. Okay, let's pick our team that are the most likely to totally underperform and fuck everything. Like, it doesn't have to be like Hellraisers again, but do you have one where maybe fans are, like, thinking this team's going to do all right or good, and you think this one actually will just blow it? Is the one that you'd pick to blow it? Most likely to blow by lurppis. Who do you have?
Decide by power count, seeing as even the players are saying they might make top 4. Obviously, there's no universe where they make top 4, but I think especially the American fanboys are. I think a lot of Americans think they're a lock to make the playoffs, and I think they're most definitely not a lock to be playing on Friday.
What is it about? It's something about being born, and then on your passport it says, like, United States of America. It gives you this amazing belief that, like, anything can happen. You feel like every sporting event is a Disney movie. Like, you know, you're trying and you believe and you go in the huddle at halftime and you're like, let's turn this around. I believe in you, man. And then you win the game. And sadly, if you haven't been paying attention yet, guys, look at how the majors have gone so far. And the moment it's the opposite of the Disney movie. The fucking, put it this way, so far in every single major, the Karate Kid goes to do that crane kick, and then the other dude just sweeps his leg again and then kicks him in his face and wins the tournament. And the bad guy wins. The Cobra Kai is beating the shit out. The Cobra Kai is the best European teams, and they're beating the shit out of you at the moment. In fact, if anything, it worked the other way around. You got your chance to be the Cobra Kai, and then, like, the NiP guy who had a broken leg crane kicked you in the face. Like, the whole thing's not working out well. So my biggest problem there is the iBuyPower, like, Kurt Cobain themselves and blew their own heads off, so that's already over. And then I think Cloud9 is good, but as we've described, first of all, Cloud9's fucked because they're in Fnatic's groups. It's almost impossible to come first. So then you're in the scenario, like we've been describing with all these second place teams, that most of the teams that were going to finish in first place are too good. So if they could have come first, yeah, listen, then they could have made a semis run if they got the right opponent, but unfortunately they've got the one group where that should be impossible. Do you have any final thoughts? Do you have a weird final thing to go with? Like someone, I think this guy will be like the weird MVP out of nowhere that no one predicts, or anything like that to close up?
I don't think I have anything crazy like that, but no. I think that's about it. We've gone over pretty much everything regarding the actual teams in the tournament. I don't think there's any specific players, but I mean, if there is one player for me to watch out for, I definitely want to see Michael Ella play in NIP. So I think that's like that's the thing that I'm most looking forward to, just from like the X Factor standpoint, where I have no idea how it's gonna go. Because obviously, I mean, I can easily I think there's definitely a universe where Michael Ella just doesn't fit NIP at all. They just put him in all of Fiflarian's spots like he played online, and he just blows up. And what then?
That's doable. But there's also a universe where here's what people might not like. There's a universe also where he plays really good, but the rest of NIP just plays the same, and it doesn't really even do much. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Fiflarian some days ago about the team, and like he basically said exactly what I tweeted. Is when he watched them play that. Granted, it was like an online tournament, and maybe NIP just wants everyone to think they haven't changed anything. But I mean, they will have practiced against most of these teams anyway, so I don't really understand that whole saving strats thing or saving a playing style thing, because everybody will know from practice anyways. I mean, if NIP plays the same way they played with Fiflarian, with just a slightly more skilled player, they're still going to lose. They're just not going to get blown out anymore.
And listen, I know already. Here's one of the things I've noticed about NIP's slump, is that it's shown this factor that I've discussed with you over the years before, which is that you actually... Okay, there are fanboys who are idiots, who get hidden. They get camouflaged by the fact that actually their team's really good. So you don't notice that that guy's an idiot, right? Because he's saying like, well, they should win and they're the best, and they are the best and they should win. So you think, no, he just knows what he's talking about. But then when their team drops off a ton, that guy doesn't ever change his opinion. He's still like... What are you talking about? NIP's still number one. They won the last major. Like 4 months ago, and they've done really badly since. Yeah, but Get Right is the best player of all time. Yeah, he is, but that was in the past, and he hasn't been playing very well recently. But Forrest is one of the most skilled players of all time. On his peak, he's better than anyone. Yeah, but again, he's not on his peak. Like, every factor doesn't fit up with reality now. That's why you're a crazy fanboy if you actually still say that shit now. Like... The NIP finishing in the final of Dreamhack last year will in no way help them in any of these matches now, you know. Like, that's not like the Force and like but fucking Obi-Wan or some shit.
From having done it before, they come in defending champions, Duncan.
No, maybe that's what they think will happen. Maybe they'll be losing like a round of 8 match, and then Fiflarian's like Force Ghost will appear and be like, make the finals, Get Right, and then he'll just win the 1v4s every time. They'll make the final, and it all works out. Again, another Disney movie. Maybe they have Disney movies in Sweden. I don't know, Donald Duck or some shit. What else? Oh yeah, the other thing is, people always get salty when you make predictions that are wrong. Like, let's say Makaleli plays Godlike and they make, let's say, go crazy and they make the final, right? I think maybe semis is the best they could do. But let's say they made the final somehow. People would be like, see, you didn't believe in them and they didn't make it. It's like, well, you didn't have a good reason why they'd make it, mate. You just hoped they would. And also, you think, like, I'm not saying what I want to happen here, motherfucker. This isn't Thorin's dream world. I'm saying what I think is going to happen based on the evidence. Like, I'd love it if Get Right became awesome again. He was like one of my favourite players to watch. It's actually fucking depressing watching him play badly now and struggle and his team look like shit. So in a way, I hope NIP do well, but I just don't really know why I would think they would at the moment. That's also why majors are cool also, because you can, in theory, a good result there does sort of turn things around a bit.
Yeah. And just to add to your point there is, I think part of the problem why so many people think that we do predict the teams we like to win is because most people do actually do that. Like, if you look at people from Fragby predicting, or Swedish people in general, like, they're always going to say their countrymen are going to do well. So I think, I mean, I think you have it even worse than I do. Whereas, but I also suffer from the same problem. It's like, there have been so many teams where everybody says you hate them, and then like 2 months later, it was like, well, you're their biggest fan, so no surprise. Like, it comes and goes so much. It's actually pretty insane.
Like, what's funny is there's certain times where it happens where actually, people won't believe this, so I'll just throw it in as a final statement, okay? But there've been times, quite a few, where I've had to predict the team I don't want to win because I think they're going to win. So a good example would be, I actually predicted Dignitas to beat Virtus.pro in the semis of Gfinity, and I was wrong, by the way. I would have wanted Virtus.pro to win that. I love seeing Virtus.pro when they're out of their peak form, but at the time I had no reason to know that would magically activate, and Dignitas had just beaten NIP, so all signs pointed to they were actually going to beat Virtus.pro this time. Turned out I was wrong on that one. I'm trying to think of one where... Let me think. Is the one where I was right when I predicted the wrong way? Let me think. There must be a few. Let me think back in history. Like, there must be a Titan one where that happened.
Sure there is.
Here's one. I think I picked Nip to beat Titan at DreamHack Summer, but I definitely wanted Titan to win that, and I hoped they could, and I knew it would be close, but it was fucking Nip. I knew Nip were going to win the tournament. Like, I had to break against the team I wanted to win, and I was right. That's what analysis is. So yeah, I don't know why this diverged into like a lesson about analysis and like picking out examples, but whatever. Sometimes we just pick who we think is going to win. So we don't just do it because there's a sticker involved either. Valve. Anyway, do you have any final words?
No.
Nah, let's just leave it there. Subscribe to all the shit on the bottom, YouTube, Facebook, all that good stuff. That's about how professional I am. Goodbye.